October 20th, 1973. The Yom Kippur War. Giora Epstein leads a four-ship of Delta Wing fighters to the Suez Canal. He's flying an Israeli-built Nesher, a copy of the French Mirage 5. Radar control has ordered Epstein, by now an experienced flight leader and double ace, to 20,000 feet. Egyptian aircraft have been picked up inbound.
When we came to the canal, we didn't see anything. And he said that he sees something that comes from the south. So I looked there, and I see a pair of MiG-21s come from the south, and when they are nearly facing us, a few miles, they turn to the west and start going to Egypt.
Epstein and his flight are here. The MiG-21s here. The Israelis drop their tanks and give chase, going to full afterburner. In the lead, Epstein gets good tone from his heat-seeking missile.
And at that time, the Yom Kippur War, we have good missiles. We have the Shafrir 2 and the M9D. So I launched the missile, and I got a hit, and the number 2 of this pair explode and goes down. And immediately I went after the number 1.
But then, the desert below him comes alive with camouflaged airplanes.
Like mushrooms, came about 10 pairs of MiG-21s.
The Egyptians have led the Israelis into an ambush. Giora Epstein is about to put the Nesher to the ultimate test. The 1973 Yom Kippur War marked the combat debut of a cousin to the Mirage 3, the Nesher. The sleek Delta Wing fighter was born in the shadows of international espionage. By 1967, Israel needed new airplanes to boost its fleet of top-line Mirage 3s. They worked with Dassault Aviation to design a simpler and less expensive Delta Wing fighter called the Mirage 5. Israel paid France for 50 airplanes. But on the eve of the Six-Day War, French President Charles de Gaulle imposed a total arms embargo on the Jewish state. Israel, with the help of accomplices outside of France, obtained blueprints, which allowed them to build their own version of the Mirage 5. The Nesher, or Eagle, was first flown in September 1969.
The Nesher was really a Mirage 3 that was optimized more toward the ground attack solution than the air-to-air combat. The characteristics of the Nesher/Mirage 5 were more in the multi-mission mode versus air combat or intercept.
Although the Mirage 3 was lighter and more agile, the Nesher carried nearly 1,000 pounds more fuel, without external tanks. The slight loss in maneuverability due to the extra weight was more than compensated for by the Nesher's longer legs and extended time on station. Attributes that would prove critical to Giora Epstein in his fight against a swarm of Russian-built MiG-21s. The MiG-21 was the standard daytime fighter of the Soviet bloc. The Mach 2 capable Delta Wing fighter was widely exported. Since 1962, it was supplied in great numbers to the Arab states. One of the major differences between the MiG-21 and the Nesher is the tail. The Nesher uses a tailless Delta configuration, typical of Western Delta Wing fighters. But the Soviets gave the MiG-21 a conventional tail, which in their opinion provided better pitch or up and down control. In this duel of Delta Wing fighters, the airplanes are almost equally matched. It is the pilot that makes the critical difference. Epstein will rely on his exceptional skill and warrior spirit to make it through one of the most famous dogfights ever fought in Middle Eastern skies. "20 MiG-21s have stayed under Israeli radar, using the first pair as bait to draw Giora Epstein's four-ship formation into an ambush.
But they made one mistake. They start from too low and too slow, so when they came up to our level, they have no advantage because they are not fast enough. So immediately we start the dogfight against all of them.
Epstein's killed one of the decoy pair and is locked on the tail of the leader.
For me, it's about 4 minutes, maybe more, of chasing this guy. I was behind him all the time, but there is no way I can put my nose on him to shoot him down because he fly, like in Hebrew we say meshugener, like a crazy guy.
He was doing loops, he was doing breaks, he was doing split S's, he was doing everything in the book, and he tried to shake him off.
While Epstein pursues his own MiG, the remainder of his flight has dissolved into a fluid state of mutual awareness. Dogfighting within what Giora Epstein calls the bowl.
During the dogfight, inside this bowl, there are incidentally meetings. Sometimes you are going after a MiG and you see one of your friends there and you see a MiG up there. So you told him, look left, up. He say, okay, and he goes. Sometimes you see somebody that a MiG come after him and you told him to brake.
Epstein glances away from the wildly jinking MiG and spots his number 2. Epstein is here. His wingman is here, chasing down another Egyptian. The wingman fires a missile. The MiG explodes. But the missile's exhaust plume is sucked into the Nesher's air intake, disrupting the airflow and causing the engine to cut out. Without missing a beat on his own MiG, Epstein talks his squadron mate through an engine restart.
I told him to close to idle. He closed to idle, open, and it's okay. And I told him to go home because I think it's enough for him.
Number 2 leaves the fight. Almost immediately, the other 2 Israelis also depart. One runs out of fuel. The other has chased a MiG out of the bowl. Epstein stays focused on the crazy MiG driver off his nose. But now, he's alone in the bowl, with 11 MiG-21s out for blood. October 20th, 1973. Giora Epstein is alone in the sky with 11 Egyptian MiG-21s. He's been chasing one for 5 minutes. As the turning MiG bleeds off energy, the chase has been driven lower and lower.
All the time, he maneuvered so hard that he lost speed and height.
They ended down about 3,000 feet. And that crazy Egyptian pilot started doing the craziest thing of all this maneuver, and that's the split S at 3,000 feet.
The Egyptian is desperate. He'll attempt a diving reversal called a split S. It's supposed to take 6,500 feet to do this maneuver in a MiG-21. Epstein can't believe his eyes as the MiG rolls inverted and pulls down.
And I didn't go after him because I think it's too low and I think he will crash.
He waits for the fireball.
I don't know how, but he went out with clouds of dust.
And he thought that's it, it crashed. Split seconds after that, he sees that MiG-21 raising up like a rocket.
The Egyptian has pulled off an amazing aerobatic feat, subjecting both himself and his airplane to crushing acceleration forces.
Really, he did things that it's hard to believe that MiG-21 can do.
But the Egyptian pilot, for all his heroic efforts, has run out of energy and options. The throttle is firewalled. 16,000 pounds of thrust shriek in angry protest against the heavy pull of the desert floor. Epstein is waiting. The MiG is dispatched with a short burst.